Collateral hit the headlines earlier this year when it emerged that the peer-to-peer lender had gone into administration. We asked our industry experts whether platform closures such as this could have a marked impact on the sector.
I think platform closures like Collateral, it's important to understand that the sector has been in transition. Before April 2014, peer-to-peer lending was an unregulated activity, and the government introduced new legislation to help ensure to protect consumers. Since that introduction, the FCA had to have a transition period to move platforms from being unregulated to full authorization, and the way they did that was to introduce interim permissions. So I think Collateral is a fallout from that transition period. Going forward, all fully authorized FCA firms have to put in place a wind-down plan, or what's sometimes referred to as a living will. The purpose of this is to ensure that even if the peer-to-peer platform can no longer trade, so they don't have enough funds, or they've decided to exit or move on to new things, the lenders on the platform continue to be served, and this will normally be picked up by another third party. So typically, a peer-to-peer platform will have a contract with a third party who will take over the administration of the loans when the other platform has either gone into liquidation, gone into administration, or has decided to cease trading. What happened with Collateral is that it was caught in this middle between unregulated, interim, and hadn't yet achieved their full authorization. So what's very important for investors to look for is make sure the platform is fully authorized. You can check that at the FCA register, and you can then be assured that the FCA has rigorously investigated the firm to make sure they have a wind-down plan or a living will.
Platform closures are an important part of P2P's history, and I think really could have a marked effect on the industry. I don't necessarily think that that's going to be a negative. One of the concerns about peer-to-peer lending is that it hasn't been through all of the cycles, all of the risks that are seen in the model, as in with any financial services model, haven't yet played out. And so every time something happens, like a platform closure, like Collateral, the industry learns something, the regulator learns something, and in a way, while it seems like initially bad news, I think it can actually ensure that everybody knows better where the risks lie. I think the regulator knows how to supervise the industry better. I think other lenders can really see the importance of getting the right systems and controls in place. So I think anecdotally, since we heard about Collateral's closure and the difficulties that they've been getting into, some of the questions we're receiving from the FCA are particularly focused on systems and controls and really penetrating firms' business models to really understand what's going on. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. A knowledgeable regulator, a knowledgeable industry, and lenders going into lending with their eyes open, I think will ultimately result in a good outcome for the industry.
I think that when we're talking about classic peer-to-peer lending versus the more crowd bond end of the market, classic peer-to-peer where there's a large number of small loans, there's a limit to which anyone can really even pick the individual loans these days, or certainly assess the risk that's involved. So a new risk appears in the market, which is platform risk. And that's something which the IFAs in particular are telling me they find slightly harder to assess. How do they know what rate setter or ZOPA or funding circle are doing to assess and price that risk? So when you do get a platform failure, had it come a lot earlier in the market, I think Collateral would have had a much more significant impact. We really are seeing the leaders pull away from the pack at this stage, and you can see that in the scale and the demographics. Hopefully there's still room for new platforms to come through all the time, but I think we're getting close to the fact that we've got platforms with nudging 10 years experience and a lot more track record, so you can begin to build some confidence in terms of how they're making decisions and how they're pricing risk on behalf of investors.